Welcome to What Have You, featuring Rachel Jankovic and Rebecca Merkel. This audio is brought to you by Canon Press.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
And in the back seat is our guest of honor.
Hello.
Say who you are. Say who you are.
Jemima Merkel.
Yes, Jemima.
Daughter of
Jemima
Becca.
is frequently the one who is doing videos. Like when we did the pie thing, she was the one doing
She's
that.
been present.
I've
She's
been
around
at
in the
events.
always.
Not
Always.
center stage.
I was thinking you sneak by a lot without getting your name mentioned. You had the idea for the pie video, and you made it happen, and yet somehow stayed out of the spotlight.
So we raked her in today after her class, pulled her into the back seat.
Due to her new life as a political activist who's particularly fighting on the internet about nose insults.
Yeah, nose. I'm the nose girl.
Yeah, so we were going to back this train up and tell you how it came to pass that Jemima became an incident.
Such a target.
Such a target. We'd like to
Nose
start
insults.
maybe a survey, maybe an online survey. People could vote. Do you like Jemima's nose? Yay or
I'm
nay?
so glad it got to have its time in the public to
Yeah.
be discussed.
Once somebody does a super ugly, it is funny because what it really brings out of the bushes is all the sweetie nice people who are just very hurt that someone was really ugly. Even though the
I got
initial...
a lot of private messages affirming the nose. So.
Yeah. Wasn't it someone saying your nose was just too big to fit in a mask?
Well, we got to
It
back
was.
this up. Here's
It
the thing. We
was.
got to back this up and get us to the right plot point in sequence. So,
I feel like we should just go ahead and tell everyone that we already said all this, but we weren't
We did. We
recording
weren't
it. We thought
recording it.
we did a great intro
we
to
did.
the topic,
We
but we
did.
didn't
We
record
talked
it.
at length about it, and then it turned out the recorder wasn't on. So, okay, we're going to try this again. So,
Take two.
we've had a mask order in Moscow, Idaho since July 2nd.
Way too long ago.
The mayor threw an emergency order at us back at the beginning of July. Then the city council extended it. Then they extended it again. And
it's important to know that 0 peoples have been in our hospital with it. Nobody has died of it.
Nope.
By their sewage calculations, we all have it, and yet nobody knows. So it's like we don't know how sick we actually are. We all are doing
we all
well.
feel fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's been this sort of tense time with masks for months now. And then the city council met last week, and many, many people wrote to them ahead of time and expressed that they felt that it was time to be done. Now, probably other people wrote and said it was, Moses, we've got all the guests.
Yeah.
You can keep going.
So, okay, all right.
There's
Rachel.
2 of you. You can carry on the
we can
conversation.
Carry
talk.
the
All right,
conversation.
So many people wrote. They had this meeting. They had loads of people stand up and testify, or, like do their 3 minutes at the mic. Out of all of them, there was only one person who wanted to continue the masks. And at the end of all of that, unanimous, they extended it to January, and they wouldn't tell anybody.
Tell us why. Well, so at the last
Metrics.
meeting, didn't they say it was because the overwhelming numbers of private emails and stuff were asking for the mask order to be continued?
Yes, they
And then
decided
this-
that.
Yeah, it was the people of Moscow prefer it with it.
But
Yeah.
at this one, someone asked for the numbers of emails, and they were like, "We can't give that to you."
Well, they also,
So-
not only could they not give it to us, they were like, we only know that we got a lot of emails and we
Don't
read
know
them all.
what they were about.
Yeah, so
we did read them. Though.
So they basically extended it till January. They had no definitions of what number we would have to hit to come out of the masks. And so it was just kind of an indefinite state of affairs is what they gave us. And so the next day, or 2 days later, our church planned a flash psalm sing just outside of City Hall. And we were going to sing 3 songs and go home. And it was going to be 15 minutes and not masked. So it was basically a lot of First Amendment rights rolled into one. So the right to, petition the government for a redress of grievances, peaceably assemble, religious assembly, you know, we were going to do that 15 minutes. No.
And it's important to note that without an emergency order specifically nullifying those things, it doesn't.
Yeah, because that's the emergency order makes an exception for constitutional rights.
It does.
So it's
right.
completely.
So the point is, nothing about doing what we did was illegal in any way, and it shouldn't be illegal.
Right.
No,
in any
everything
way.
about it was very protected by the laws. So anyway, we go down there, and Rachel wasn't there because she had soup night coming. And
we showed up.
We show up. Yeah.
They had spent all morning, because they had heard about it. They spent all morning.
That's Moses. He's in here also.
It's a packed car. They painted little dots on the parking lot,
Yes.
6 feet apart, and then put signs up everywhere. Like,
It was so they could prove that you were standing close to
Yeah,
that
right.
6
So they
feet.
had hard facts, and then there had like a little wall of cops all against the building, all masked up and like ready. And the second we show up, Papa was like, "They're gonna give you immediate citations unless you stand on the dot. Let's go."
Yep.
And we started singing,
so we
and the
started
cops
singing.
just started walking forward. And it was a very
And they
strange experience.
It was. And
Yeah.
so they came around, they started asking people are you members of their household and everything else. We were standing right next to a very sweet couple that got tapped on the shoulder and told they needed to produce ID, and they said that they were, singing right now. I mean, I don't know.
Because we're not a stop and identify state.
Yes.
You don't
can't
have to show your
ask
ID.
for ID
unless
they're
it
breaking
looks
the law.
like you're breaking a law,
But you're
which
also not
clearly-
allowed
No,
to ask if you're in the same household.
They can only cite you if they're already citing you for something.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you're being cited for something, you have to give them your ID. If they're
Yeah.
just trolling your ID for potential citations, you
Yeah.
do not need to do that.
Exactly.
So basically, this couple standing right next to us got cuffed, loaded up into a cop car during Amazing Grace and the doxology. And then another guy in our church also got arrested, Gabe Wrench from Cross Politics. So he got arrested and taken away. This other couple who was just standing there singing, they happened to be at the back, so they got tagged. Anyway, taken away to the prison for this incident. So anyhow, at the end of this moment, I should say, I promptly burst into tears, which I have not done.
I was just going to say that I wanted to tell people from other places this, but now you've thwarted this, which is to say that the mood of everyone here that I know has been very jolly, joyful, full of cheer, and it has not been, because I've gotten a lot of messages from people in other places who caught wind of it some other way, who are like devastated for you guys. And the reality is that we are doing really well. But now Becca's, that's okay, thanks. Becca is now thwarting that by saying she sobbed her way home. So send your sympathies to Becca.
In the moment,
it was awful.
Different than,
it was, extremely heightened in the moment.
When I say jolly, I actually don't mean people were taking it seriously. Like when we did the follow up on Friday, hundreds and hundreds more Christians came from many different churches, and also most all the people I know, everyone made arrangements for like where their kids would go if they got arrested. Nobody was taking it lightly, like this isn't something serious.
No, but what I was gonna say is like the scene of masked cops were singing Amazing Grace, and they are cuffing these people who were standing right next to me, and then taking them to the cop car, and you're like, I can't believe this is happening in America. I can't believe this is happening in my town.
In Idaho,
I can't believe this is happening to Sean and Rachel. Like, it was just, and so I burst into tears of pure anger, I think, right that minute. But I have not cried in public since first grade when a boy in an orange Crush t-shirt punched me in the stomach at recess. And so, like, I'm just telling you that it took a certain something to get me to that place.
That one?
For me to, like, just cry downtown all the way back to the car. I was just like, I cannot believe what just happened. Well, so that was on Wednesday. Everyone was hauled away. the videos went hog wild through the
Well,
nation.
because if you had tried to stage, nobody who planned it expected anyone
No.
to be arrested.
No.
So it was in no way planned for this. It was
No.
God's drama that made this happen.
It wasn't a
Because
stunt to get arrested.
But the fact that people were being handcuffed while other Christians were singing is something that comes off
Shocking.
as nothing other than a terror film. I mean, like, when you watch it, it's just like,
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
no, they
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
And it's
So
Sean
that-
and Rachel are singing too as they're
As
being
they're being
cuffed.
cuffed.
And
I
it's
know.
just
I know.
Nah.
It was too much for me. I cried. Anyways, then
I know you did, because that's how I found out what happened. I was running around breathlessly getting stuff, and you called me, and I didn't know where my phone was, and so I answered on my Apple Watch, and I just hear you sobbing, and I was like, what on earth? So I was running upstairs with my watch, like, on my ear, like, Becca, what happened?
And I was like, you won't believe what happened. So anyway, that was Wednesday. So we're building up slowly, guys. That's Wednesday. Then, after this hits every news outlet on the conservative side of things,
Because it was on Laura Ingraham and Glenn Beck and The Wire and everything
Tucker
else.
Carlson.
Yeah.
it was everywhere. And so we got
There was a picture, I think, on the Washington Post, but it was of all of us, and it said, "Rise in COVID cases."
Oh,
We're all, like,
that's right.
singing.
And so that was Wednesday, so we decided to do another one on Friday. And that's the one that Rachel was referring to. People are, this time, they're ready to be arrested. They're figuring out what to do with their kids. Loads of people from other churches came. It was this beautiful, like,
it was beautiful.
a lot of people. And then, of course, that gave everybody time to plan a counter protest.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, during this lull, Jemima had taken some video footage.
Yeah.
Now, you tell us this
Well,
piece here.
Because I was standing right by Sean and Rachel, so I filmed them getting cuffed as we all had our hands raised singing the doxology. And I posted
That's
it.
your most famous film
I
yet.
know.
Yeah.
I posted it, and it blew up. Like, it got a couple thousand shares, I think. But somehow, some hater found it. And I didn't know this, but they have little, like, Facebook groups specifically for trolls.
Yeah.
And someone will get reported, and they'll all come and crash down on you. So
So you
I
got
was
treated.
I was trying to write a paper for philosophy on the rational
Did
nature
you change
of the
your
soul.
topic? You
Well,
changed
I
your
was
topic to
trying
the irrational nature of the internet.
Trying to write about how rational we are, and then I kept getting notifications on Facebook, and I didn't check them for a while because I thought, like, I was just getting shared or something. And then eventually I found out that I had triggered the haters, and they were going back a ways. And so they didn't actually comment on the Sean and Rachel video because I think the pathos is so clearly with them. It's hard
Right.
to be ugly about it. So what they did is they went back a couple posts to Judah and I had gone into Walmart, and we taped little socks on our faces,
Yeah, I remember that.
which I still think is a much more effective option because it was actually hard to breathe in those, you know? It was actually suffocating. But they went, and that got like 5,000 comments and a couple hundred shares from the haters. And that's, I think, how my nose became a topic of
Yeah, because she had a
Hate.
sock.
But then it was just
Because
someone
I had a
sending you a
sock.
mean
Yeah.
thing about your nose
I
doesn't fit in
I
masks.
got
or
personal
something.
messages from
Yeah.
people with lots of death wishes and ugly things about my nose.
Yeah.
Which- yeah.
And the nose. It was because
It's
one
kind
girl,
of like some families. I feel
No,
like
it
some
was
families
actually-
do things like bar mitzvahs, and in our family,
It's the trolls.
is when you get your own first batch of trolls on the internet. Now we know you're really
I
a
had
woman.
really come of age.
Well, but
Yeah.
they started in, like, if your nose is too big, ugly, you know, why
Yeah.
don't you just...
If it
it
can't
was
fit
like,
in a-
if it
I
can't fit
think-
in a mask, just say so ugly.
I think
And
it should count as a medical exemption,
Also-
though, if my nose is too big.
But then they're like, catch COVID and die.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so then a little hashtag began of, I stand with Gemma's nose.
I think it was oh yeah, it was.
Stand with Gemma's nose. And then the people coming through to reassure you.
I did get a lot of personal messages about how my nose is just the perfect size. So.
I like to think that there's a counter troll Facebook group somewhere that's like, SOS! Young girl's nose has been insulted. Everyone, write her a compliment now.
Yeah, it was. I did not wake up that morning thinking we'd have to talk about it that much, but.
And now you got your first podcast.
I got a whole deal. Yeah.
I really like the rational nature of the soul.
It was, yeah. It was
The rational nature of the soul as you get the
as
entire.
I got the haters coming.
The proof that it's not so rational.
So Jemima was having a real public time about her
Oh
nose.
my word. I saw there during the Psalm thing there were some people we did not know who were on the edge, who were persecuted much by some of the counter protesters.
Okay.
And who got a little hot under the collar at them. I think the lady tagged me in the video, but I didn't see it. Someone just messaged me and said maybe it was in the video. But some guys in our church saw this thing starting to heat up and were like, hey, come away back up, let's not do this. But the video posted of the woman, of her daughter, out fighting the champion thing at our psalm sing.
Yeah.
So her daughter was 15 with a cymbal, with cymbals on a stand, just banging the cymbals. And then she grabs it and runs towards these people who are at the psalm sing and gets right up next to them and is banging her cymbal. So she just goes barging at them, and the guy turns and he just stands there and he looks sort of puzzled. I didn't even watch the whole video. It didn't matter. The part that tickled me is the woman who posted this video everywhere being like, they assaulted my daughter. Because I think her
daughter was the one with the symbol.
Yeah, I think the guy grabbed her cymbal to shut it up for a minute. And she was like, they assaulted her. And in her video, their 15-year-old grabs a cymbal and is running towards these people banging it. And she says, you go, baby girl, you go. And I didn't want to watch the rest of it. I think it was just a special event of people, people getting provoked when they should have not have gotten provoked. But also, what happened may have been not brilliant, but it was not assault in any way. But the idea that you should be able to run around with a symbol in people's faces without any consequence to you.
Well, because that little... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, at the counter-protest, is they told everyone, come early to fill up the space so we can't get in, and then also bring as much noisemakers. Yeah. So they also got people to just drive around the block, laying on the horn.
Yeah, there's one guy angry in his Subaru, leaning on his horn the entire time. As we were leaving, we walked past this guy who was standing with a little speaker, a radio speaker thing that was tuned to obnoxious fuzzle, and he had that cranked up. And he was just standing there, and I said, well, thanks for coming, blessings. And he said, no. And then he said, you don't want blessings? And he said, no. And I said, too late. you got him. But I just felt sometimes, guys, there's this whole thing about read the story you're in, and just notice if you're the person who's running around with a cymbal banging it in people's faces, or if what sounds like the best choice is nasty static on a radio blaring, maybe you should think about trying to be a different character now, because
Perhaps.
I think that's not a blessing to you either. Like,
No,
or the girls who had Black Lives Matter signs.
Yeah.
And posed with David when David Shannon went to take a selfie of himself, who was a black man in our church, and they were holding Black Lives Matter posters, flipping off the camera behind him. It's just like, and one of them is in a Playboy sweatsuit.
Yeah.
I feel like, there's a lot going on here, but it's just not.
Maybe you shouldn't be
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
just-
It's a special blend of things that
It really
Was
is.
a great moment.
Just was crazy. So yeah, the counter protesters were like maybe 25 people or so,
Yeah.
right? Banging
There weren't
drums
a lot,
and
but they were
cymbals and
quite loud.
being obnoxious generally, and then
And there were a few Christian counter protesters who were there masked, holding signs that said "Love your neighbor."
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were
They're
Christian or not, but
the Lutheran church has a little sign that says "Wear a mask, love your neighbor," or "Love your neighbor, wear a mask."
okay, yeah.
But I think they have a woman preacher, so
I think they did too.
That shows how
there's
tight they
some-
stick.
The thing is that I
Citing
missed
scripture
the
is maybe
second
not.
psalm sing because
I did not.
Ben
I was
and
there. The Jankovics were there in full force.
yeah,
on
well,
that one.
Ben and I were in South Dakota. We were at a really fabulous conference that was really fun. So I know a number of you were at the conference. So hello, this is me saying hi. There were a lot of podcast listeners there, but I was giving my first talk during the time that the psalm sing was going forth. So other people had to arrange what would happen to their children if they were arrested. I was more wondering, how will I do well giving a talk if my children are being arrested whilst I am gone?
Trixie.
I know,
To keep that
but
up.
you guys stayed. You eluded
Yeah,
arrest.
One thing
Eluded
that I've thought all along, though, is that if anything about the current public narrative shows you anything as a parent, it's that our kids are going to have to be 5 times bolder, more courageous, more resilient, and more joyful than we ever even imagined needing to be.
Right.
And I am so thankful and blessed to see it, not just in our kids, but to see it in the young kids in our church, how much
Yeah.
they are actually growing up willing to have the awkward conversations and willing to be the person.
Well,
Yeah. Great.
it's like that Lewis quote in That Hideous Strength where he says everything is always sharpening and coming to more of a point. And I feel like we are really seeing that right now, because there is even less of a possibility of neutrality now.
Yeah.
You can't coast by on anything without me. I mean, it's almost like, I've been telling you, I tell the security guard at the Walmart that I have a religious exemption, like to get into Walmart. I'm telling him I'm a Christian, and I'm consequently, my faith is opposed to tyranny.
Yeah.
You're like,
It was-
has it come to this?
It was funny because Bella and I went into Walmart with McDonald's bags on our faces, just, and it was like we had to like stop and like, talk with the security guard and be like, it's technically legal, we're allowed on in here. But it's interesting that it's now like every time you go to Walmart, you're gonna have to deal with a security guard.
You're gonna have to have an interaction.
And
about
I was
something.
going in there to buy a mask so I could go to Ulta. So it was.
Well, that
it was
you
a
should
little-
just got one of their free ones by the door.
Do they give those?
Yes.
Oh.
Ulta's already a bridge too far in my life. I won't. I
really?
hate
The thing
Ulta.
Well, we were gonna do the pickup because Belle got something.
Yes,
and then
I
we had
just-
to go to Walmart.
I
'cause
just
needed to go
dislike
in.
Ulta
Yeah,
because I dislike it.
same.
It's
but-
a big dirty Vanity Fair in Ulta. Is what
Yeah.
it is.
I think
Which
America
reminds
is
me
big,
of a
dirty
tip
Vanity
that I
Fair.
actually have.
Okay, do it.
I agree
What?
with you on that, but Ulta seems to be like one of those places where the wind patterns have gathered a lot of it.
Oh,
If America is
I
a
know.
big dirty place, Ulta is the Dust Bunny collection behind the door.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, this is a great tip, and I failed to ever bring
Give
it
it.
up. So
I
jumping
have
the
a
gun.
good tip too, but let
Okay.
me just point out that my clock on up there is wrong. So just
By 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Off.
Okay, my big tip is I happened upon a new mascara brand
Oh.
a little while ago, and you can get it on the Amazon. And
Which
it's
is also
called-
not exactly Purity Central. But
No.
anyway,
You
go
don't have
ahead.
to go in there
No,
and
but
look
you
at
don't
the
have to look
posters.
far in there. You don't have to like
Yeah.
scrabble around with a man in drag trying to tell you what you'd look good in.
Yeah.
At
if you
which
just
point,
scroll down
at
from
which
the banner
point,
at
I
the
just
top.
say, I don't want your help as far as beauty matters are concerned. Thank you, please. So what I was going to say is though, it's Vivian Sabo, I think. It's called Cabaret mascara. But it's $12.95, and it is better than I have used Clinique mascara for forever.
Okay.
And this one caught my attention because it has insane amounts of great reviews.
Okay.
So I bought it, and it's great. It's brilliant.
What's it called again?
Vivian Sabo Cabaret. Although I have to say that, just to be clear, recently I've been going on a struggle because I don't know where I put it. I lost it entirely. So in recent days, I've been on a bad using someone else's old weird mascara.
I have a hot tip.
It's not fun.
I'm really pleased with this one. This one, Jemima is here, and she can testify.
Are
that
these
this
your shoes?
is- No.
Oh, okay.
No, because those
Okay.
are, I'm
Okay.
jury's still out there on those. But no, I ordered also from Amazon a set of drill attachments, Rachel. Drill attachments that
yeah.
are scrub brushes. And I have never been so happy in all my life. Because,
What is it that you're scrubbing? Potatoes?
No.
The shower.
The shower.
It's a different color now.
It is a different color than ever since we've lived in this house because it's a strange dusty pink tile and tub, which we haven't gotten to yet. And so it's never been lovely, but it was a lot more beige than it is now. Now it's got more of a rosy pink to it. But
it's a little more
I got these things, and you can attach them to like a cordless drill. And there's like one that is shaped like a toilet brush, kind of like it's sort of a cone. And then there's a flat, round, big one and a small one. And I scrubbed the dickens out of the shower and the tub, and I've never been so pleased in all my life. Like I used just like a soft scrub and those brushes because they are really stiff bristles, but
So have you seen people peel potatoes with them?
yeah, well, I mean, I've seen that concept, but this is
Or you
seriously
put them,
for
you put
scrubbing
them in a
difficult
big
surfaces.
bucket
Yeah.
full of water,
Yeah.
and you whiz one of those in it, and it whirls them all around until you have peeled them all.
Wait, like a brush?
Yeah, on a drill bit, stiff brush.
Well, this comes with an extension.
Yeah, so it's
to
a
make
long.
it
So you
longer.
put a long drill
yeah.
in a bucket full of potatoes, and they jumble around so fast that you have peeled them all.
Well, I haven't tried that, but I'll tell you that
You know,
it is
we
wonderful.
did try it, and I'm struggling to remember what happened because I know
Something
that
weird?
I know that it did work, but I think we had to
Made
do
such
some.
a mess or something.
No, we had to do some jury rigging to make the brush, like to make it work because we couldn't find exactly the right thing.
Well, I'm just gonna say this was like $12 or $13 for this set,
Okay.
and it was worth it because it took me a long time to scrub my way across the tub, but the little one takes all that build up off of the faucet and everything. Yeah, it was just really, really delightful.
Kind of heavy to hold your drill.
It is heavy, but you know what?
And I guess
it
you don't
is.
have to scrub as much with
Yeah,
your
it's a different muscle, but you
should
couldn't have gotten that much
You should
scrubbing.
try some balance poses while you do it. It would be like a really highly tuned workout, like holding the drill bit. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
This is a good tip.
I know. We have a small cordless drill, which made it very doable. Like if it was a heavier one with a big cord, that would have been harder. But anyway, I was a fan, and I haven't taken them around. I mean, I'm sure it would take the paint right off of stuff, so you wouldn't want to. But on the tile and everything, it was amazing.
Well, hot tips.
Yep.
Hot tips by
That
you.
is my hot tip. And then, I don't know, circling back around. What do you do, Jemima, when the universe is being rude about your face?
That universe.
Not much. I mean, what can you do?
Have I told you what I say to people when people go off? Because sometimes someone will be like, "You're the worst." You are, every once in a while, there's somebody who was really cheesed off at me, and it was a person who was trying all manner of insults on me. Like seriously private messaging me to say, it's someone I don't know who's never been on this side of the country saying, your husband doesn't love you. Mm-hmm. He's only, and you're like, you don't know my husband's name. I don't trust you to have the deets. Authority. I don't think you really have the deets on this. But they say, and you're this and such and this and that. And I would always come back in with it. And I'm ugly. And it's
they
funny.
Just went straight to
they just went
it's
straight
funny
there.
How often if you say, like, and I'm ugly, it triggers people right back into being like, no, you're not.
Not these people.
No,
not
these
those
people.
No, this
exist
was
on Facebook.
This was someone who was trying all means to try to get me to.
How many nose
actually...
messages really were you raking in? I mean, was this?
I think I'm trying to remember. There was a lot in the comments section on stuff. Was my nose? Because I think hers. I think she was inspired by someone else. The PM. But
okay.
It was a
lot of tidbits. Jemima was texting our family chat to say, everyone, I've never been so insulted or affirmed about my nose in my whole life.
Did you say this in this one already, or did we say that in the one we forgot to record?
I don't know.
In what?
I feel like I'm having deja vu, like we already said this.
No, but it was funny.
It was.
Yeah.
It was funny. I think the key is to not
care.
Not care.
Well, sometimes you think, man, what a bummer life would be if your happiness was hinged upon.
Well, I was told actually today by Lucy, maybe, I don't know if you heard this, but she said that someone said at the counter protest, he told them that he knew for a fact that Doug Wilson wouldn't ever speak to a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
he told that to.
You know what you should do if that's your approach on the slander? Go find the women in Doug Wilson's family and tell them that.
It was Amira, I think.
Really?
And Amira was like, I have spoken to him.
You would say,
seems
false
fine.
One. You have deceived me. Yeah. One time I ran into a woman who was wearing a full-on sandwich board. A woman I'd never met. What I knew of her because of her internet deeds, but she was standing in a full sandwich board that she had handcrafted that said, Doug Wilson is a racist. And I just said, what's funny is I know him. I happen to know him, and he isn't. And she was like, yes, he is. And I said, well, he's my dad, and I think that if he was a racist, he's really not handed on. Like he's really kept his cards incredibly close. Then those closest to him
don't know.
Believe he holds an opposite position.
Yeah.
She's like, you don't understand. You don't understand. I have the inside knowledge.
I thought she said to you, you don't really know him.
Yeah, she did. It's like, well, he's really my dad, and I don't think you've even talked to him. I said, have you talked to him? I don't have to know. And I was like, you don't, do you?
Well, and you forgot he doesn't talk to women.
He doesn't.
So how would you find that out?
I do have to say, one thing I do want to say, just as an aside, is that sometimes in community affairs, the men folk do something that makes some of the women folk more nervous, right? Like, although Gabe getting arrested, and obviously Rachel Bonet was right there with Sean, but Gabe getting arrested, I know his wife Annie was like, well, I'm pretty sure he's living his best life right now. She was fine about it. But we all, I just think it's so important that women not try to patrol the dealings of the men. In the sense that it's important for us to be camp followers and come along behind the conflict and be confident and brave and courageous. But to do it from not trying to become the generals or trying to get out in front and tell everyone that tone is wrong.
No.
Don't do this, men. And I think that's really difficult because I think women either think they should be cowering in fear, like to think I should be courageous and confident and bold, but also not in the lead. Like I'm also not in the lead, and I'm also not in charge of the leaders. I'm also not. I'm not the mom. I'm not the room mom for these people telling them how to do it.
The elders of my
The
church.
elders of the church do not need you to room mom them.
No.
They need you to come along with feminine confidence and joy.
And loyally.
And loyally. Yes. Exactly. And not to think that if you're courageous, that means getting out in front of the men and telling them how to do it.
No, and if you get accidentally swept up in it such that the turkeys of the universe are reaming your nose, keep a smile on, which Jemima did an excellent job of getting a kick out of it.
Well, I suddenly had a flashback to 5th grade.
Okay.
When I don't know, there was some sort of recess drama that had been happening, and I don't remember what it was, but I was talking to Dad. I remember him, I think he drew a little diagram. He was like, so everyone's heart is like a bucket, and it's filled with, how secure you are, and some people just don't have a lot in their bucket, and if they don't, they run around and they trip people and try to get the slosh and catch it in theirs. And that was, as the nose comments came in, I was like,
maybe they're trying to fill their insecure
have
bucket.
my bucket. Yeah. It was funny.
Well, we used
That
to tell
was
our
my-
kids all the time that your emotions can be like a big, tall, clearly in the metaphors we used with children, your emotions can be like a big tower of blocks, where they're all stacked up. And we were like, but you may not let any random stranger have access to that. Some random kid at school cannot have the power to flick one of the blocks and have you just fall apart. There has to be some walls around this tower of blocks. And when it is a random stranger who's having an ugly time with a symbol, that should not have
Maybe you
any
shouldn't
actual
care.
access to your emotions. There's that. That's happening. All right.
Yeah.
I should go pick up the other
Yeah,
kids.
we're
Until
cutting this
next time.
one shorter.
Moses, say, see you next time.
See you next time.
All right. Thanks for joining us,
right.
Gemma.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Moses.